Hey everyone, Clio here, and welcome to another reading vlog. Now, it is a little bit of a difficult week for me because I did get some bad news that I don't really want to go into, and so I'm going to be using this vlog a little bit as distraction as well from that news. And so, I don't know how much reading I'm gonna get done because my mind is really elsewhere at the moment, but I will attempt it anyway. So at the end of last week, we ended up not finishing The Ruin of Kings. So I got the news on Sunday, and so I was planning to potentially finish the book on Sunday. I think now that wouldn't have never been possible, but definitely now it's didn't end up happening, and it's also not going to end up happening today. But so The Rune of Kings is a fantasy book. It's the first in a series that is written by Jenn Lyons. The series is called A Chorus of Dragons, and yes, it features dragons. So it is a fantasy series in which we're looking at our protagonist called Kieran, who is basically sort of lost heir. However, while that's a super stereotypical trope that I actually do like, it does actually play with that trope quite a lot, and I actually at this point still don't really fully understand what he's the lost heir of, who he's the lost heir of, who his parents are, and all of those things. That's all kind of mystery still. It's a very complex world, and while I can follow the story very well, I do think that I'm having some trouble following all of the sort of like world building elements, and especially the history that goes in advance of this story, and the history is very much tied to Kieran's backstory. So I am losing track of that a little bit, and I'm getting to the point where I'm unsure whether I should not know, whether it's normal that I'm confused, or whether I'm just losing things, whether I'm just not catching up. But I do very much love the book so far because I very much love the complexity and the structure of it, and the sort of like slightly sarcastic voice of our protagonist. And so the story is a multi-layered story in which we're looking at our character from multiple perspectives and in multiple timelines. We basically mainly have two parallel timelines going on. One of it is told through our protagonist himself at a later stage in the story, and the other is told by the person keeping him prison. And she is somebody who is a mimic, so she can mimic the people who she has killed. And so she has killed multiple people in Kieran's direct environments, and so she will be telling Kieran's story from the perspective of the people that she has killed. So a very intriguing plot structure that I definitely find very soothing. I know that there have been some people who have had problems with that because you're jumping between the two timelines of Kieran's story. And apart from that, we actually have a sort of like third person perspective, which is the sort of like narrator who is compiling the text and who's giving his ideas or his commentary on what is being discussed between these two. But so yeah, I'm going to be listening to it a little bit more today normally. I am also still going to be watching some gymnastics, and I'm going to be preparing some food. So I don't know how much listening I'm still going to get done today, but I do definitely still want to continue on a little bit more with it. And so I'm going to have to take my time with it a little bit more just because, I'm easily distracted at the moment. But we'll see when I end up getting around to it. I am planning to probably finish Don Quixote this week. And then The Ruin of Kings is definitely also finishing this week normally. So then I still have the remainder of the month for Warbreaker. So I'm not really concerned about not being able to finish my TBR at this point in time. Hey everyone, I finished The Ruin of Kings, and so I very much enjoyed it, and I want to dive into the sequel. But so yeah, I will wait until March because I'm reading it together with Sarah from Voyaging Worlds. In any case, I think I just also need the break. You know, part of me wants to dive straight in, but it was also a lot of brain power that I needed for this one at times. So it's probably best for me to have a little bit of a break from this book at this point in time, and so it's actually ideal because I'm going to go into a reread now of Warbreaker, so that'll be a nice change from the sort of confusion that reigned supreme during the Ruin of Kings. So I will say it's very much one of those books where people have very differing opinions. So a lot of people do not like this book, and I can see how that happens. Some people think that the structure makes it extra confusing. I actually loved the structure. Did it make it more confusing? Potentially. But I think in what's mainly causing the confusion is the fact that this story is a sort of like document that somebody's compiling in order to give a sort of like report on what has taken place to the ruler of this kingdom. And so, as both the person writing this document and the person who this document is intended for live in this world, that means that we're not going to dive into too much detail when it comes to the history of this world, to the history of the conflicts between certain races, for example, because all of those things are part of the general knowledge of these two people. And so a lot of times, so there isn't much exposition in this book because things are mentioned and then we don't really go into them. And so you kind of get confused quite a little bit. And I'm just assuming and I'm just relying on the fact that at some point we will get answers. We've been given hints, and at some point those hints will add to one big puzzle and things will become clear. What definitely adds to the confusion as well is the possibility for things such as reincarnation, which I think was relatively easy to follow. It didn't really pose a lot of problems. Mimic. So this is a character who can, this is kind of sort of a demon who eats people and then they can impersonate the person that they have eaten. And so they have access to their memory and everything like that. So they can be a perfect mimic of that person. Which also was an easy concept, and because there was only one mimic that we are aware of within the story, so it was kind of like, okay, that person sometimes would show up when you didn't expect them to, but if you understand the structure of the book well enough, you could actually figure that out. But then, thirdly, there's this sort of idea of soul swapping, where when a person is in possession of something and they are killed, their body dies, but their soul goes into the body of their murderer. Meaning that certain characters within this story have done a lot of soul swapping with certain bodies, and that also has an effect on the genealogical tree, because then sometimes you think that somebody is the child of one person, but that person actually possesses the soul of somebody else, and so that has implications for the complexity of somebody's ancestry. So that definitely added a lot to the confusion. So those types of scenes in which we would have revelations about who was actually soul swapped with who would really be these sort of moments in which you were like, wait 1 second. So that person was carrying that object, they were killed, so their soul went into that body. You really had to kind of do some mental gymnastics to keep up with those types of swaps. But apart from that, I will say that I absolutely love this book. I love the things that it was discussing, such as it had moments in which it was talking about heteronormativity, about, the way in which men were treated who have an affection for other men, and the way that they should be treated equally, the way that it should be seen as normal, a way and that it currently isn't, but it should be. Our protagonist himself is also somebody who, while he has only been in relationships with women and he says that he is interested in women more than in men, he does also at times indicate that he is also not like, that he also feels attraction for men, and there is definitely a ship that involves a male-male romance that I want to see take place. But yeah, so a whole lot of things that it was discussing to me really felt like a breath of fresh air to have them discussed in that way within fantasy, for example. And I'm definitely eager to see where this is going, to get some of the answers, to see what structurally will be done with the second book. And at the end of this book, there were certain implications for what is going to be taking place within this world that I'll definitely want to see what's is in store for us in book number 2. So yeah, I cannot go into too much, of course, because of spoilers, but I definitely loved it. But I will say, if you are going into this book and you find yourself getting really confused and disliking that feeling a lot, then I would say it's not for you, because the confusion only gets worse. If at the beginning you feel like, wait, I'm not really following, but let's just power through and things will become clearer, they will not get clearer. Some elements might get clearer, but then more confusing elements will get added. So you won't get the answers. You will just get more and more snippets of things that you hope will end up leading somewhere. But so yeah, next I'm picking up Warbreaker. I'm also still reading Don Quixote. I think I'm gonna listen to some more Don Quixote now, because I've been kind of abandoning it for the past few days, because I wasn't feeling like reading a lot. And so I've been choosing the fantasy read that I'm enjoying more in the time that I was reading. So I probably might still want to do a little bit of a catch up for Don Quixote now.
In all of us, in our hearts, there's love and light that we must realize. We need to feel, we need to use this warmth that could make bright our lives. In all of us, in our hearts, there's love and light that we must realize. We need to feel.
So it is Saturday. I went to my sister's this morning because it was my niece's birthday yesterday, so I went to drop off the gifts. So I kind of wanted to take some footage when I was cycling there, but I was too lazy, so you're just gonna get sit-down footage of me for this vlog, I think, because I really haven't had much other footage, I think. So unless I'm cranking it up today with the extra footage, then probably this is going to be a little bit more of a boring reading vlog. In any case, it's a little bit more of a boring reading vlog because my reading has been all over the place this week, I think. So I think I finished Ruin of Kings right at the beginning of this week. Then I have done some reading for Warbreaker, but not that much neither. And so I just actually finished Don Quixote de la Mancha. I won't be talking about this one because I just filmed a 50 minutes long book talk about this one that I am now so not looking forward to editing at some point. But so yeah, and then unless I crank it up for Warbreaker for the remainder of this weekend, there really isn't that much to talk to you guys about. So sorry for that. But so yeah, if you saw my previous vlog, then you probably know that I am making Friday night movie night. So yesterday evening I did so as well. So I didn't do any reading yesterday evening anymore. So I just watched a movie. So I watched Raise the Red Lantern, which is a movie by Zhang Yimou, his name is, I think, which is a famous Chinese director. Raise the Red Lantern is also one of his most famous movies, though it's probably more famous now with some of his later martial arts oriented movies. But I very much loved Raise the Red Lantern. It's very much more of a sort of like artistic, lower intensity, like slower paced movie in which we're looking at this young girl who's portrayed by Gong Li, and she's basically marrying this rich guy, and so she basically becomes wife number 4. And so it very much looks at the sort of like power dynamics and struggles between these 4 different wives as their husband visits one of them each night, and the person that he visits that night gets certain privileges awarded to them. And so it's very much looking at the way in which these women are kind of pitted against one another in that sense. They're kind of made to be competitive towards one another, to compete for their husband's attention and to compete in order to win over his affection so that they can get a somewhat more agreeable life for themselves. The movie is very much visually pleasing. It's a visual masterpiece, not just the sort of like area in which it was filmed itself, it really made me want to go and visit one of those Chinese old family estates, but the color work within this movie is very beautiful, and definitely those scenes in which you have the entire room transformed to red because of the red lanterns, those scenes are definitely like gorgeous. So I very much love this movie, and I love Chinese cinema to begin with, so I was very happy that I kind of pushed myself to watch it. I kind of made this sort of association that since I was ordering Chinese, it was the perfect time for me to pick one of the many Chinese movies that I still have kind of on my radar to watch. But so that was a movie that I watched. I am trying to watch more movies or TV shows or anything like that this year, because I didn't do it a lot last year, and so that's part of the reason why I kind of introduced this idea of Friday evening, just no reading, just watch, make that time available for watching movies or for watching TV shows. Because I know myself, if I'm going to say like, yeah, but I can do that and still read, then it probably won't happen. So basically I did kind of still read yesterday. The way I did it was just, I watched that movie and then afterwards there was still time, and then I was just like, okay, there's not enough time for me to start another movie, and I already satisfied my urge for watching a movie, so I can still read a little bit now, but I also won't force myself with any sort of goals of like, you need to read 100 pages a day or anything like that. So it's been working out for me very well. It's been a way for me to be able to kind of wind down and take that time to fully focus on a movie that I've kind of not really been giving myself that pleasure. I've kind of been feeling like I needed to reach certain page goals every single day in order for me to reach my TBR. And so it's kind of a forced habit at the moment, because I still somewhat have to fight against that urge to read as much as possible. But you know, that's the reason why I only put 5 books on my TBR now. I need to be happy. I have to be able to be happy with those 5 books and not without reading anything more. And that's not even the case this month. I have read more than those 5 books already. I have read more than those 5 books, but still sometimes I feel like, yeah, but I could go even more. But then I'm like, yeah, but it's not about how much you read, and if reading so much means that you cannot watch any movies or any TV shows, whereas that used to be a big part of what I would spend my time on, then that's also not worth it to me. So that's why I'm currently making that time in order to make that a habit again and have that be an integral part of, you know, my sort of like hobbies again. So I very much love cinema, so I definitely want to go back and watch a lot more. So I definitely want to make the time for that. Very long-winded discussion about something that nobody actually wanted to hear about, but okay. So today I don't really have any plans anymore. Tomorrow I'm going to go and have lunch at my parents' place for the first time in months. So I think, yeah, the final time that I was there was on the 1st of January. So it's been a while, so I'm going over there for lunch, and then I'll just do the typical and watch gymnastics with friends. I think I'm not really feeling in a reading mood at the moment. I will still be reading some of Warbreaker today and tomorrow, but I really haven't. It's also because I'm just at the beginning of the book, of course, but I haven't really felt a need to pick it up. So I'm hoping that that pace will kind of pick up for the remainder of the month. I kind of hoped that I was going to be able to fit in a lot of extra books within the month of February, but as I just said, I kind of also want to combat that sort of feeling of like, oh, but I could be even more productive when it comes to reading books. The goal of reading books is the enjoyment of them, is the sort of sense of escapism, this sort of like nice relaxing experience of reading a book. And if I'm gonna be putting pressures on it like, ooh, but I could still, but rather than finishing 8 books this month, I could actually still finish 10 books this month, you know. I want to get rid of that. I know my goal is to reduce my physical TBR, and I'm chipping away at it. It doesn't need to happen this year, so no need to put extra books in there so that I can get extra further along with that reading goal quicker. So that's just me venting here, I guess. pasting this footage onto one of my reading vlogs because I don't think I'm going to be doing, I don't think it fits in with the week that I'm currently having. This one is going to be my dedicated reading vlog for Warbreaker, so I'm going to be pasting this on to next week's reading vlog, I guess. But so I just received my February Books That Matter subscription box, which is somewhat unfortunate timing to some extent, because I only received my January book subscription box last week or 2 weeks ago or something. So that means that these are 2 extra books for the month of January, for the month of February, whereas I won't be able to read them in the month of February. So they will be adding on to my physical TBR, but you know, it's all fine. Some months you gain a little bit, some months you add a little bit, so that doesn't make sense at all, but okay. Let's just dive into the box. So the theme of the February box, which is by the way the last box that I will be having for a while at least, because I had a 6-month subscription to the Books That Matter subscription box, and currently I'm not going to extend it just because I am definitely, like, my main goal now is to reduce my physical TBR. So for the time being, until I reach like 0 TBR or something like that, I want to have lots more control over my physical TBR. And so if the Books That Matter subscription box is going to be adding a book or maybe even 2 books to it every single month, then that is going to be something that I need to take into account. And so for that reason, I'm not extending it at the moment, though I will definitely say that I've been very happy about the Books That Matter subscription box, and I can definitely recommend it to you guys. So the theme for the February box was Girl, Goddess, Other. And I have actually also seen the sort of like spoiler review of what is going to be in the March box, and it sounds so good, so I was really like almost going to get it, but then I was like, no, really just wait until you've got your TBR under control again. But so Girl, Goddess, Other is the theme for the February box, and that also comes with a book. It is not perhaps the books that you will think based off of that title, but it is The Emperor's Babe by Bernardine Evaristo. So Girl, Woman, Other is a book by Bernardine Evaristo, so based on that title a lot of people expected this to be the book that was included. But an older book by Bernardine Evaristo is the one that they went with, and I definitely think that that is a smart way to go, because a whole lot of people have read Girl, Woman, Other, me included. I do have Girl, Woman, Other on my shelves. I have already read it. I definitely loved it, and so I'm very happy for this opportunity for another book by Bernardine Evaristo to make its way onto my shelves. But so what is it about? So I think it has to do with mythology, but I don't really remember. I found out the premise when I was spoiled for this box, but let me read the back of it to you guys. Scroll back 1800 years to Londinium AD 211 and slip down the side of Gracechurch Street. Here roams a back alley beauty, a Pulcherima babe, don't know how to pronounce that, a Nubian knockout with tangled hair and bare feet. Zuleika is a reluctant teenage bride with no idea about true love. She's too busy sneaking out with the slave girls and drag queens, until one day she catches the eye of the most powerful man on earth, Emperor Septimus, and the trouble really starts. Silver-tongued and merry-eyed, this is a tale to make the muses themselves roar with laughter and weep for pity. Kaleidoscoping distant past and vivid presents, the Emperor's Babe sings a song of womanhood and of survival in this thrilling, brutal, breathless world. So this doesn't really tell me a whole lot, except for the fact that we are having a story set in the time of the Roman Empire in London at the time, and that we do have a diverse cast of characters, which is definitely a nice interesting aspect to a book set in that time, because I don't think, like, a lot of times we are presented that image of, you know, the Roman Empire times of everybody just being white, and that is definitely not the case, and so it's interesting to see that represented in a book for once. And so, but in terms of the story, this doesn't really tell me a whole lot, but I have complete faith in it because I absolutely loved the writing style of Girl, Woman, Other, and so I'm interested to see what this one is going to be like, because the previous book, Girl, Woman, Other, had like very different, it had like 12, I think, perspective points, and so we did get a whole lot of different stories, some of which interconnected, some of which didn't, and so this feels a lot more like it's going to be a cohesive story, and so I'm very interested about this one, and so hopefully it's going to be another one by her that I love. Now, apart from the book, we also do always get goodies included within the box. As I say every single time that I do one of these unboxings, I do prefer the type of goodies that you get in the Books That Matter subscription box versus that you get in some other book subscription boxes that I see certain unboxings by, because the goodies aren't necessarily linked to any sort of fandom. And if they are linked to anything, they are linked to the current book that is in this particular box, and usually that is then just in terms of, and usually that is then, for example, in the form of a bookmark that relates to a quote from that book, for example. So it is very much more accessible in that sense, because what I often think is when I see a book subscription box that has, like, for example, it is very typical to have that with a YA Center subscription box. A lot of the sort of bookish goodies are related to specific fandoms, which of course if you are somebody who loves all of those fandoms is very fun, but if you don't really love some of those, then it also makes me think that that goodie loses some of its value just because it is specifically linked to a certain fandom. But so the Books That Matter subscription box has very much more generic gifts included, and so this one, first of all, I'm so happy because I've been telling myself that I need to get one of these, and that is a face mask. So this is the I Am Enough moisturizing face mask, which has a watermelon gel mask. So I've been thinking that I really need another face mask, so I'm very much looking forward to trying this one out, and so that's always fun to try out for once in a while. We also do have a gorgeous bookmark that is included in here that has two goddesses on it. So it has Artemis and it has Aphrodite at the back. So definitely the theme of this one is very much mythology or Greek mythology inspired. We do also have some stickers. So this is a Medusa one, and this is, I think it's also Artemis. And then we have another sort of like blank notebook which has some beautiful cover art on it. So I don't actually even know who this is supposed to portray, because it doesn't really say much here. It has like some clues, I guess, which is like wasted bread, soft tears, and maybe that line is supposed to, that leopard is supposed to mean something to me. So I'm really rusty on my Greek mythology. I used to be so good when it came to, I really was so intrigued by Greek mythology especially, and so I need to brush up on my Greek mythology, it seems. Yeah, so it is Circe inspired, which I already kind of assumed, but because I don't know anything about Circe, because I still haven't read that book, and I don't think I knew a lot about Circe even when I was a child and when I was intrigued with Greek mythology. So I kind of assumed it was Circe, but just based off like a gut feeling. So I didn't want to say it because I was like, yeah, I'm basing that off of nothing. But the leaflet does indeed refer to the fact that it is Circe inspired. And then the final thing is a tote bag, which I'm hoping that I'm going to get into view. So this is the tote bag, if it isn't nicely in view because the sort of like handles were in front of it. It has Girl Gang on it, and it has it's got a beautiful art to it. And yeah, and I've actually been looking for a new tote bag recently because some of mine have definitely been worn out a little bit too much, so I'm definitely happy for a new tote bag in my collection. But so, to recap, we have the book The Emperor's Babe by Bernardine Evaristo included in this book. So we have the Girl Gang tote bag, we have a notebook with Circe cover art to it. It is a blank notebook, so you can do whatever you want with it inside. We have a watermelon face mask. We have a two stickers, Greek goddess inspired, Medusa, and what I'm assuming is Artemis. And then we have a bookmark, Artemis and Aphrodite. So I'm very happy with this book box. So I'm going to be adding this to whatever reading vlog that ends up coming your way that isn't specifically Warbreaker related. So I don't know when you will be seeing this. This box definitely is no longer available, and I think the March box will also no longer be available by the time this goes up, because when they did the reveal of that box a few days ago, they were already saying that the vast majority of those were already out of stock. So, but I will definitely link the Books That Matter websites down below, and then you can definitely go and check them out. They are UK-based feminist subscription box. I do definitely need to catch up on some of these books, and maybe that's going to be a sort of like vlog at some point, you know, catching up to my Books That Matter subscription box books. That's a weird sentence. But so yeah, that is going to be it for this clip, and cue back to your regular content. So probably time to round off the vlog. So this is gonna be quite a boring one, I'm gonna assume, because I cannot even remember whether I have any b-roll, but I feel like I've said that a couple of times already in my closing clip for a reading vlog. But I know that this week has been kind of all over the place in terms of reading as well, because I haven't been feeling like reading for a big part of the week. But so I am about 115 pages or something like that into Warbreaker, so I'm going to be steadily make my way through that throughout the week. So that is the only book on my TBR that is left, and I will definitely be able to finish it within this month. Don't think I'll be able to finish anything else this month, or I definitely won't be like making myself do that. I won't be like pushing myself in order to get another read in there. So yeah, that is basically going to be my reading. I did yeah, maybe one other thing that I am going to be reading is I did start After the Quake by Haruki Murakami, which is a very short story collection of his, and it is Murakami Marathon at the moment, which is a sort of readathon that is organized by Pfeil, and so I will link some of the details down below, but by the time that you guys are watching this, it will have been over. But this is a marathon, but this is a readathon all about reading Murakami, and After the Quake is the group read. So it is a very short one, it's only 4 hours audiobook or something like that. And so I did listen to the first short story in that one as well today. But apart from that, it was the first time that I went to see my parents in a very long time. And then in the evening, I did my usual Sunday evening gymnastics meetup with my friends. So watching gymnastics and just catching up that way. So today was very much a low activity day. I basically just edited my vlog that should have gone up on Friday. And so I do have some time, hopefully tomorrow, to kind of catch up as well on editing, because I do want to be on top of that a little bit more again. As I say, almost every single, or almost every like 2 or 3 vlogs, I talk about how I'm so behind on editing. But so I do have 2 book reviews pre-filmed, and I have this vlog that needs to be edited, and so hopefully tomorrow I can actually already edit this vlog and maybe one of the book reviews, so that I do have that a little bit more in order, and then later in the week I can hopefully then edit the second reading vlog, and then later in this week I can hopefully edit like the second book talk, and then I just need to film like my March TBR over the weekend and my February wrap up, and then that'll be a nice head start in content. But so yeah, I'm going to be wrapping it up here. I hope you guys enjoyed. I hope you guys are having a lovely time, and enjoy your week, enjoy your reading. Bye.